Hello everyone. It's gonna be a different video than what I'm used to do. I've been a bit frustrated and I kind of wanted to rant and vent a bit about the state of the game. Um, so, for context, I play BDO since 2018. I started PvPing in 2019, so I have a lot of experience about the game. I want to kind of go over why the PvP scene is kind of on the downfall right now, and if PA can actually fix this, or if the game is just in a salvageable state right now. So yeah. So what's wrong with the PvP scene right now? So that's three main reasons for the decline. The first reason is that PA changed the node war system without really any reason. The West scene was enjoying for the most part. It kept the competitive guilds alive, and when it got changed, the new content wasn't as competitive, so that started to create a decline on the PvP scene because the competitive guilds started abandoning the game or just going into casual mode. The other two reasons that have basically made PvP decline are the balance changes we got recently. PA did really big updates in a very short span of time, which kind of just completely changed the meta entirely. And if you're playing a class that went from being top tier into complete bottom of the barrel garbage, that just causes players to quit the game. So that also contributes to the decline of the PvP scene. The other one is a change that happened kind of over a year ago almost now, which is the open world PvP changes, the karma system changes, and the war deck changes. All of that just makes the game feel less alive during normal times. The PvP, the open world just doesn't feel as active as before, and you don't have like that sense of camaraderie when you're in a guild of trying to help your homies. That's because someone started griefing their spot or something. So it kind of just kills a bit of the guild identity that the game had before. So I'm just gonna focus on why the new node war system killed was like the nail in the coffin that started making a lot of the player base bleed out. But basically, as I mentioned before, because it's a non-competitive game mode, the competitive guilds, which have like a more hardcore PvP player base, they just stop caring about the game. They stop trying. They don't want to get better. So that basically leads to a state where these guilds don't want to. They just don't want to improve. They don't want to get better at the game, right? So that's one of the reasons, one of the big flaws of the game mode. The other big flaw is that if you're on a 1v1 on the new system, the power dynamic is completely inverted. Who's gonna have the fort on a 1v1? The strongest guild. So you're gonna have to push the strongest guild that already has a defensive advantage because they have FTs, they have respawn protection, and they have watches. They can set up traps around the fort that you need to push because that's the objective. So it's impossible to 1v1 in this game mode. Full stop. So that completely goes against the logic of Node Wars, which before it was the strongest guild would be on attack, the weakest guild would have defender's advantage, right? Third one, you can't set up politics, so you can't really have balanced fights. It always ends up being just a third-party game mode where you try to see two guilds fighting each other and you go in and try to third-party that guild, right? There's no balanced fights for the most part, and those were the most fun fights if you ever PvP'd in a competitive guild before. The last point is just there's no strategy on this game mode, right? The only strategy is wait for the fort to be low, push in, hope to get the last hit. There's no other strategy. Your fighting strategy is, as I said, third-partying other guilds. The game mode just like too much for what the old Node War system was, and bringing it in to completely replace it obviously is gonna make players that were used to the old game mode and liked it more just leave the game completely. So what's the results of this? The results is that, as mentioned, the strongest and hardcore guilds either disband, we've seen a lot of cases already where that happened, or they just start going casual. So what happens to the guilds that go casual? Jesus. They drop down into the tier 1 scene. Because that's the only place where there's a lot of guilds, and this game mode can somewhat be fun. So they go into the tier 1 scene. So what happens on the tier 1 scene now? The weaker guilds on the tier 1, they can't fight back. They were already losing to the strong tier 1 guilds before, but they could, like, with some politics, they could be worked on into fights and have some fun. But now they just get farmed by everyone, for the most part. So basically, it starts cannibalizing the tier 1 scene, and slowly gonna kill off the weaker tier 1 guilds. And eventually, you're gonna be left with only the strong guilds that still want to PvP, but are casual. And even then, if those guilds start getting farmed because they're now the new weakest, they're probably also gonna quit the game. Here's a screenshot of, I think it was second or third week on a main day in NA tier 1. I would like to point out that pretty much from all of these guilds, at least that I remember, only 2 of them are like guilds that usually placed on the tier 2, on tier 3 plus on the old system. The rest were like tier 1 guilds and new guilds that I had never seen. For context, I'm in Trauma, or Pain Guild, Trauma Alliance at the time. So I've been on the tier 1 scene on NA for about a year, so I kind of know like a lot of these guilds here, right? So what happens here? You can see like about 21 guilds on each region, and I can tell you there was about 5 on Medaya, 5 on Valencia, and then because it was the second or third week, it's possible that there was actually a fight on Uncapped as well, right? So here you can see there's a lot of like weak guilds that I wouldn't really consider like strong on the old tier 1 system, and also like old like new guilds. So this is another screenshot of second or third week, but like on an off day, so Thursday. Because if you do Node Wars on NA, you know that the main days usually are Sunday, Monday, Friday, and Wednesday for tier 1 Node Wars, but Tuesday and Thursday usually are a bit more that. So on Thursday you already see that like that would be less weak guilds placing, but that would still be like some, and only like only like a couple of guilds that would place tier 3 plus are here, right? And now you fast forward to the current state where on a Friday there's still a decent amount of guilds, right? You still have 14 on each region. 4, 8, 12, yeah, 14 on each region, 14, 15. But you can see that there's now 5 guilds. On a main day, there's 5 guilds that's usually placed on tier 3 plus. And this is a good day, because sometimes, like, the week before this, before Show died, Show would be here. Sometimes DG comes down. Zerg is not here. Nagas is not here. So there's a lot of guilds that place on tier 1 that's actually not here today, because I think they had tried to set up a fight on Medaya and Valencia this day. So, in general, the amount of guilds that are weak, that are placing, already went down. And the amount of guilds in total that are placing was already cut by almost half. And this has been like 2 months, I think, or 3. I don't even remember now. This is an off day, as you can see. It's very bad. It's gone down considerably compared to the first few weeks. Now, this, I guess, is expected. The problem is that since this is a tier 1, on an off day, we would expect that at least the guilds that are here are mostly weak, but it's not the case, right? So a weak guild that wants to place on an off day has no chance of either getting a good fight or a chance of getting a fort, because there's no way they can beat any of the other strong guilds, right? So now that I gave you an overview of what's happening and proved to you that it is happening with some screenshots of the scene, the question is, can PA even revive the PvP scene at this point? Because in my opinion, the damage is already done. The bleeding started, and PA can try and stop the bleeding, but it's not like the blood is going to be refilled instantly, right? Even if you do a node war revert, the players wouldn't come back, in my opinion. It's the second time this happens. If you were here 2-3 years ago, we had a risk system. They reworked node wars. They put a risk system into the game. Guilds started being active. They started leaving the game. They eventually realized their mistake. They brought the node war system back. And even then, it took a while to start reviving the scene. That was the first time. On the second time, the players that came back the first time, they won't come back the second, because they know that PA at some point is going to fuck up the game again. That's the problem. The problem is that they lost the player trust. And unless they somehow fix the game in a very meaningful way, those players won't come back because they don't trust PA anymore. So, to revive and revitalize the PvP scene, we need more PvP content, and we need balanced PvP content. We need to bring down alliances from 150 man to 100 man. Alliances were one of the biggest mistakes in this game, because it allows for guilds to be complacent and have offline members on their community, instead of pushing for activity. So alliances need to be brought down to 100 people again, to promote guild competitiveness and activity. And we need also to then adjust the caps for Node Wars and Siege, so you don't actually need 100% attendance for Siege, for example, right? What are the changes I propose for the content? You don't really need to do... We already have a lot of game modes. You can go ask the PvE players, because they like to complain about this too, that we have a lot of game modes, but we complain that PA doesn't care about us. And they are not wrong. We have a lot of PvP game modes on this game. What we complain about is that they badly balanced, right? So we have the new Node War system, the old one, Siege, War of the Roses, Arena of Slayer, Guild League, and I added Shadow Arena here because I think this year could be a game mode on the game, and I'm going to explain now. You have small scale PvP content, so both Node War systems. You have large scale PvP content, Siege, War of the Roses, and then you have a seasonal PvP mode, which right now is PA gave an idea that they want Guild League and Arena of Slayer to be rotated in and out, right? Like seasons. So this is where I put Shadow Arena. It's as a PvP seasonal mode, where they would just rotate every month and a half or every 2 months. They would just rotate these game modes. So Guild League, Arena of Slayer, Shadow Arena, etc. Shadow Arena, it was a very fun game mode we had. They made it into a solo game. But in my opinion, if they brought it back as an event, I'm pretty sure this would pop off and people would enjoy it and play. So even if they only do it once to test the waters, I would really enjoy and hope that they would actually try. So what do we do with these game modes? We're gonna do a new schedule. So we don't want to completely remove the new Node War system because it has its strong points, but it's not actual Node War, right? So we want both game modes, the new and the old. So we just intercalate them. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, you have the new Node War system. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, you have the old Node War system. Both player bases that like the two game modes stay happy, in my opinion. And the other part is what I say, we intercalate the seasonal PvP game mode, so Guild League, Arena of Solar, and Shadow Arena every 2 months to keep the game fresh and have a different game mode. And then you obviously have Saturday you have Siege, and Sunday you have War of the Roses. I would make this a weekly thing instead of every 2 weeks, because I don't understand why they're trying to give us less PvP, right? Like, why is this only every 2 weeks instead of 1 week? So just make this a weekly thing. Now I'm going to talk about changes to the game modes themselves, because, as I said, we need balanced PvP game modes. We don't only need more PvP game modes, we need balance on them. And right now, that means that you need to do changes to the things that you have and listen to feedback from the players. We've been saying this since the new Node War system released, but when the game mode is only fun when there's a lot of guilds on the same region. So if there's less than 20 guilds, they should just all be on the same region. Because if you split them up 3 into one region and 3 into the other, it's dead. It's boring. No one wants to do that. And it's a big reason why this game mode failed, by the way. The second thing, this game mode is not fun when there's a lot of people. It's impossible. If you go on 75 men uncapped, and you need to push a fort with 3 guilds around, there's not enough space for 200 plus players. It doesn't work. This game mode forces you to zerg forts, and therefore should only be 30 men maximum on all regions, uncapped tier 2 and tier 1. So you can actually have space around the fort. And now, for 30 mans, you don't need elephants. They are complete bullshit, super hard to kill, and no one likes to be CC'd out of SA. So you don't need elephants, they need to be removed. And you don't need the watches on this game mode either, especially for 30 mans, because at the end, the fort is being shot at by like 4 or 5 watches, and it's unplayable to push the fort. If you ever done a Node Wars on this system, and you go to the last fort, or the last 2 forts, it's 5 elephants, 5 watches, everything on top of the base. You can't cast a skill without getting CC'd, unless you're a ranged class. Any melee that goes in, gets CC'd out of SA, instantly dies. It's not fun, you need to fix this. Finally, HP of structures, flame towers, too tanky, flags, a bit too tanky, elephant nurseries, flag factories, all of that too tanky, needs the HP brought down. Now, old Node War system, because we're rotating it in, and remember, we're doing 3 days of one, 3 days of the other? Okay, so the old Node War system, what was the issues that people had with it? 1, you took way too long to change the nodes. We would fight on the same fucking node every Thursday for half a year. So the nodes need to be rotated way quicker, so we can actually experience new terrain and new nodes to fight. Second, people hated backdoors. Forts burned really fucking fast. So while the FTs and the watches are still up, because they were decently tanky, and means you don't have cannon pressure on you, much likely. So while these defensive structures are still up, the forts need to take the reduced damage or be completely unhittable to avoid backdoor plays. And third, the player cap, as I said, needs to be changed because we want to bring down alliance numbers. And also because Node Wars are more fun with less people. 75-man Node Wars are fun, but that's already Siege amount of people, not Node War amount of people. On Node War, you want more guilds, so having lower number, usually better, because it's easier to meet the requirements. You don't need that many nodes. For example, 1 tier 1, enough. 2 tier 2s, enough. and 3 tier 3 is probably enough. Not sure, we'll need to see it in action to see how active it will be. And that's where like PA needs to then, after putting something in the game, they need to adjust it again with the feedback that the players give, which is something that doesn't really happen. Now, changes to Siege. I don't want to talk about Siege too much. There's only 2 points I want to bring up. Recently, you tried to update the structures of the HP of structures. There was some sort of fuck up because on the patch notes, the HP and of forts and walls went down, but then in game, forts and walls are super tanky, while soft structures like recoveries and other stuff that was supposed to get the HP increased somehow ended up squishier. So you need to get your shit together and fix that. We need walls. We need forts to be tankier than they were, but not as tanky as they are now, and same for the walls. And we need recoveries and other soft structures to actually be way tankier than they are right now. Because what's happening is guilds are just waiting for you to leave your base and using their tier 10 Pegasus to fly in and start killing your recoveries. So it's just bringing a backdoor meta into the Siege, which usually didn't have such a thing. Because people actually try to open holes on the base, because diving in, it would take too long most times to actually kill stuff. But now the recoveries just die way too fast, so it's actually a strategy. And the other thing is that it's impossible to 1v1 castles right now, because you decided to remove the castle spawns for the attacking side. So if there's only one attacking guild, so only one fort and the castle owner, the castle spawns need to be put back into the game. Otherwise, it's impossible to 1v1 castles, even if you're much stronger. We're going to talk about War of the Roses. These last patch notes on Global Lab, you started going in the right direction, in my opinion. Where if there's only one guild applying as the leading guild, you would then make a 300 versus 300 with only 3rd Legion. I think that's the way the game mode needs to go. Because the leading guilds usually just turn the game mode into a one-sided stomp where basically only one side gets to have fun, the other doesn't. Right now, this is the only content in the game where gear matters and for which people would maybe want to push gear so they can be stronger in War of the Roses. But the incentive is actually 0 because more important than you getting gear for War of the Roses is you winning the coin flip that you're gonna be on the side that's gonna completely stomp. Because you can be super hard cap. If you're on the losing side, you won't have fun. That's the problem. So remove the leading guilds and make it 300 versus 300 with only the 3rd Legion. And then you need to remove or hard nerf the buffs of the shrines because they are not fun either. It's not fun to not be able to fight back just because the enemy has basically 100 gear score advantage on you because they have the shrines. And then you can use this because you need commanders, right? And you said you were gonna put CMs as the commanders in case there was no leading guild. I think that's a good idea, but I also think like you could sometimes get 2 content creators and make an event out of it. And it's like, I'm gonna give a good example of 2 funny content creators that usually pair well together, which is Zier and Rumbo. Let's imagine you have Zier and Rumbo be the leaders of both Kama and Odilita, and you make a stream out of it. Let them banter a bit while they control the troops. I think that could be probably fun, right? Fun to watch, that's what I mean. Finally, if you do this where it's only 3rd Legion, you probably would need to rebalance the HP or PvE objectives because the 3rd Legion is never going to be as coordinated as having an actual leading guild. So you might need to make everything a bit squishier. Not sure if this is the last. I don't think so. We're going to talk about changes to Arena of Solaire. And this is more couple things that you completely ignore the feedback on. So I'm going to reiterate the points. We don't want double classes on ranked AOS. You remove triple classes, now remove double classes as well. And to avoid people creating new accounts to play a different class, or people playing different classes on high elo, and then starting tier ranking, you need different elo for different classes on the same account. I've seen a lot of people that go high elo on a class, and then they decide, oh, I'm gonna swap class to goof around a bit, and then you can see them like just losing every game, basically hinting 5 players experience because they decided to play another class and they didn't have a different elo on that class. And now this is for customs, because customs can basically just be a better Arena of Archer if done well. We need a spectate mode. People have been asking this for a really long time. We need a way to disable the protection icons, because those are not good on a competitive game mode, which customs could be used to set up. We need a way to choose the map we want to play on, to choose the type of game we want, if we want 5v5, if we want a 4v5, a 3v3, anything. And we need like some rules options, like the round time, if the game really ends on max HP, or if it goes to sudden death, where like the first team to lose a sub player loses, etc. Or if it just ties up, if it goes to HP. Okay. And then we also need an option to utilize our own gear, in case we want to set up a custom like that. And finally, we want better rewards on ranked AOS, because we were promised that, and apparently PA idea of better rewards is increasing the seals by 10, which makes no sense, right? I did maybe like 500 games of AOS last season, and I got maybe 10 bill out of it. For context, one game of AOS is about 7 minutes average. So let me do the math real quick. Yeah, I did about 60 hours of AOS, and I got like 15 bill out of it. You can see why it's not very good reward-wise. And finally, this is to bring content in between the game modes and the node wars, because the game itself and the open world needs to feel more alive. We need guilds to have a PvP tag. You either put it yourself, or when you place for a node war on a tier 1 plus or any node war, or only tier 2 plus, I mean, that I will leave that to PA, you also get the tag. And if your guild has a PvP tag, you can declare war. Even without consent, your guild is now war declarable by anyone in the game that also has a PvP tag. The other way to, the other needed thing to make open world PvP better is giving Archer server a massive buff. Right now, people go into the Archer server just for the 50% drop rate buff, which is not that impactful. And a lot of times they are just there to grind. If you kill them, they start complaining in chat saying you're cringe. The drop rate buff itself alone doesn't make Archer an actual PvP server. We need some sort of events that spawn only on Archer that make players actually try and fight for them. We need some sort of hotspot grind zone that basically during 5 hours this grind zone here is going to be dropping extra loot, and then as it says here, maybe during that time, if you're on that grind spot and someone kills you, you drop some of the trash loot you were getting, or whatever items the zone is dropping extra. I think that's pretty much it. I've been ranting for a decent amount of time. I've played this game for a long ass time now. I really enjoy the PvP. I really hope the game is in a better state than it is right now. All the guilds I see around me, all the players, they just feel disheartened. They feel like PA doesn't listen. They don't care about the PvP community. They only care about developing what they think is right for them, but not what we are giving them as feedback. And that sucks. That sucks. I hope that PA can adapt, can actually give us what we want, and if that doesn't happen, I don't know. I'll be playing the game still, but I'll be way less active. I'm already way less active now. I was spamming AOS. AOS is gone. I do some guild league, but without Node Wars to like look forward to, the uncapped PvP that we used to do in EU all the time, it's just all gone. There's no pings saying, "Oh, come help me." Someone from this guild started griefing me, and now they have 5 people. I need backup. You know, there's none of that now. So the only reason I log on is, oh, let me go out, let me get some kills on the tier 1 node war against random people that are not even good at the game. You know, my gear, I'm 770 gear score on EU. My gear feels completely useless, besides when we go to War of the Roses every 2 weeks. If I even get in, because I'm not on the guild that's usually leading it. I don't know. The game just feels weird right now. But yeah, that's it for the video. I hope I didn't bore you guys too much, and I'll be seeing you around.